Minority Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, let me take this chance to thank Honorable Nyikal for co-sponsoring this bill, together with Senator Beatrice, who comes from my county, Homa Bay County. Madam Speaker, it is said great minds think alike, and so I just want to congratulate Honorable Beatrice, because I have a similar bill, a bit more comprehensive, because this is Maternal Newborn and Child Health Bill. Mine is Family Reproductive Health Care Bill. I think Honorable Beatrice, because of the challenges that we normally face when people hear the word reproduction, the first thing they think of is that people are talking about abortion. So she's been smart to remove reproduction, so that people don't think it's about abortion. But sometimes in compromise, we lose a lot. And you can see from this bill, and I'm glad that Honorable Irene and Honorable Karoli were discussing about this, except, of course, I want to challenge Karoli about issues of the village. I know he went to Homa Bay Primary School together with me. So he's just dreaming about having gone to the village. But having said that, Madam Speaker, I'm glad that they were talking about the issue that it is a man who has moved, and it is a man who was seconded. But if you look at the bill, it is maternal, newborn, and child health. Where is the paternal? You cannot have a maternal without a paternal. Even where the bill which I'm sponsoring, the second bill, which has to do with the children, which is assisted reproductive technology. Madam Speaker, even in assisted reproductive technology, where you use in vitro fertilization, there is a sperm donor, and the sperm donor is a man. So there is always a man. And so, Madam Speaker, I'm actually supporting this bill with proposed amendments. The first amendment is that we need to change the title. There must be a father somewhere, because we cannot have a child who doesn't have a father. Article 53 of our Constitution recognizes both father and mother, even where a child is born out of wedlock. The child has a right to know both mother and father. Secondly, a father needs to be in the life of that child. And especially in situations like this, which is envisaged in the bill, where it is presumed that the parents are married to each other. We cannot focus on the mother as though she's the one carrying this child on her own. Carrying a child for 9 months, a lot of women will tell you it's not an easy task. The father must be involved throughout this process. They must be involved when the woman goes into labor. That is when you actually appreciate your role of fatherhood. So for me, one of the things that I'm going to provide here, which is actually in the bill, some of the things that I'm going to propose here are things that are in my bill, and if they pass here, let my bill die. It's not about whether my bill passes or not, it's about whether we take care of the things that are of concern to us. We want to reduce instances of child mortality in this country, and I want to agree with Honorable Nyikal that the numbers are not as high as before, but the numbers are still of concern. And I want to agree that we have a big challenge right now in Kiambu. But I would want to say that Kiambu is what we would call in law sui generis. Sui generis because when you have those numbers of children dying, I think we should even close the country. Because how can we have children dying like that and we are continuing like life is normal? There must be something that is done in Kiambu, and it must be done very urgently to address the cases of children dying. But I want to tell Honorable Nyikal that indeed children still die and we bury. Unfortunately, one of my employees just lost her baby. I think 3 days ago we buried the baby, 2 days ago in Langata. So we still lose children very young. And unfortunately, in her case, it was, if you could actually, when she was narrating what happened, it was a case of negligence. There are cases that are avoidable. Yeah, the child, it's somebody else who had to actually then go to the house and notice the child was jaundiced. Yeah, And if you see the child, she took the child to hospital. I wish she had even called me to intervene. By the time I was landing, even though I was out of the country, it was a bit late. They went to hospital in the morning. The child was admitted. They were trying to admit the child in the evening because the child needed to be in ICU. And by the time they were admitting, they had been telling her to wait for ICU. Then they said there's no longer any space for ICU. So the child died because there was no space for ICU. So that does happen, that we still have, and I just want to say condolences to Belinda on the loss of your child. And so we still are having many, many women losing children when they don't need to in this age and time. We are losing too many children. But the worst is also that we are losing too many mothers while having children. There is no reason for us to be losing mothers when they're having children. But having children is such a noble thing that we shouldn't be losing mothers because of bringing to earth children, because of fathering the human race. And yet, a lot of the cases that you see, it's because of negligence or because of distances, like those of us who come from, very far places. And I want to thank the county government of Homa Bay that they had actually promised, for instance, our islands, that they are going to provide an ambulance in each of the islands. But I would actually also want to suggest, because I was one of the people who sat when we were doing the constitution, and I remember this was an issue that was raised by Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta himself, and he said in areas like ours that are overly marginalized, we should be given more money to take care of those unique challenges. In my place where you have 7 habitable islands, if there is an emergency in Sukuru, Rembaringiti, or Takawiri Island, or Ngode Island, or Mfangano Island, and you need to reach the mainland, how do you quickly reach the mainland with an emergency? So we end up losing many women, we end up losing, many children because of that. And sometimes you want to blame the county government, but all, the amount of monies that are given are not really sufficient for that. So for me, I want to just say, I don't want to go into the details of this bill because, as I've indicated, I have a more comprehensive bill that looks at the entire life spectrum of reproduction, from preconception to conception to giving birth in all ages, including gerontological. Because we have very many old men who are struggling with other reproductive challenges nowadays because of peer pressure. Peer pressure happens at any age. You'll find a man who is 80, 90, is still busy wanting to have a child. So we say, if you are a man who is 80, 90 and you have a child, how do you deal with you as an 80-year-old man? How do you deal with your child as an 80-year-old man? How do you deal with, raising that child as an 80-year-old man who has a child at 80 and you are a father? That child, by the time you are 90, the child is 10. By the time you are 100, the child is joining university. So those are issues that I've addressed in my bill, and as I've said, I've actually discussed with Honorable Nyikal. To the extent possible, so that we don't change the architecture of this bill, I will bring amendments that can be carried on into this bill, and I'm hoping that we don't bring propaganda again to this bill, because as we do a lot of politics on women's bodies, women continue dying, and young children continue dying. Why we politic? It's very easy to sit from a distance and comment about your neighbor's compound when you don't know what your neighbor has to go through. And unfortunately, sometimes that's what our brothers do to us. We want to theorize about childbirth. We want to theorize about reproduction. And we love the ones like Honorable Nyikal and Honorable Kaluli, who are very supportive of us. And please talk to your other male colleagues so that they can join us, because this is a journey of fathering the human race, both men and female. Once again, congratulations and thank you for this bill. I'll support with amendments.
Very well. Honorable Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to give my contribution to this particular bill, the Maternal Newborn and Child Health Bill. And Honorable Speaker, from the onset, I just want to appreciate the Honorable Dr. Nyikal, the move of the motion, and the Honorable Karoli for supporting this bill. Actually, my comment was that I really like the fact that this bill is being moved and seconded by our male colleagues because it is helping us to give it even more oomph, because we shouldn't assume that matters to do with maternal, newborn, children are only things that should be spoken about by women, but that they should also be spoken about by everyone in society. Honorable Speaker, the reason why I really support this bill is because it gives us access to a coordinated system of this, and when even a person, before they become pregnant, in terms of the assistance, the process, and then when you conceive, to when after you have conceived and you have postpartum issues in terms of how to even relate to that. Because, Honorable Speaker, I'll be very honest with you that the issues with childbirth is not about just mobility and mortality. It's also about the whole spectrum of counseling, the spectrum of the mental disorders that people experience, the whole spectrum of after the child is born, the early stages, what to do with them. But I also want to agree with the Honorable Millie when she says that we also need to have an aspect of paternal, because we do not, we shouldn't be assuming that new fathers are also in the know of what to do. Sometimes they don't know what to do. They don't know how to give support to the new mothers because they have guidance. Honorable Speaker, and therefore, just to have a look at the specifics of the bill, and the objectives are quite clear in terms of what this is trying to achieve. The structuring, the comprehensive quality health service, supplies, availability,